United States should immediately take steps to phase in a firm 100% tariff on all goods made in China. You saw what was happening with our tariffs. In fact, you know, the Democrats were fighting the tariffs. Oh, we don't. Well, he hasn't taken those tariffs off. He doesn't want to. Billions and billions of dollars, 25% tariffs on China. Billions and billions of dollars is pouring in. And frankly, if you raise them, a lot of things would happen to China. I think they'd stop building their military. I think a lot of companies would move back to the United States. And I'm not only talking about China, I'm talking about others. Because, you know, what China does is they'll sell through other countries. They're very ingenious. They're very smart. Had a great relationship with President Xi until the China virus came in. Then it was real tough. We made a tremendous deal for the farmers. You know, farmers are doing better than they've ever done because of us, because of me, because of what we've done with our administration. Better than they've ever done. Look at wheat prices and virtually all prices. The farmers are doing the best, and one of the reasons is China's buying tremendous amounts, and they want to keep us happy. They want to keep me happy. I don't think they want to keep Biden happy. I don't think they care too much about Biden, to be honest. But they wanted to keep me happy, and they were investing with our farmers. They were buying so much of our product, and they continue to do so. We made a great deal. But after the virus came in, I just felt differently. It meant, you know, a trade deal with China didn't mean very much. It didn't mean, to me, it was just a whole different mindset. Does that make sense? I used to talk about the trade deal. I'd drive these guys crazy. That trade deal was great. Look at our farmers. They're starting to do great. You look at beef, you look at cattle, you look at all of the different things, corn, wheat. You look at it, what a great deal. When the virus came in, I don't even talk about the trade. This is the first time in a long time I've even mentioned the trade deal. And it's really been very beneficial. But it's so tiny compared to the devastation that's been caused. And we should reinvest 100% of all of that money that we collect from tariffs to help bring back jobs and factories from China and other places back to America and back to the great state of North Carolina where they belong. You know, over the years, I've built lots of hotels and lots of things, and I used to buy my furniture from North Carolina. Are you a furniture guy? Stand up. There's only one in the room, I think. Right? But I helped you a lot, right? Good, thank you. Great to have you. And the quality was incredible. Now so much of it's made in China, right? So much. And we were stopping that. It was all stopping. And then we had to slow it down a little bit after the pandemic. But it was all stopping, and it was all starting to come back here into other places. And I will tell you, I bought a lot of furniture, a lot of things. And a lot of times you'd put furniture made in China into a hotel room, and it would break. Somebody sits down in a chair. If you don't sit down lightly, the damn thing would collapse. Then I get sued as usual, you know. But nobody ever made it like you made it here and you make it here. So just stay tuned, okay? Because we were all set to bring it all back. It was all coming back. In addition, all nations should work together to present China a bill for a minimum of $10 trillion to compensate for the damage they've caused. And that's a very low number. The damage is far, far greater than that. As a first step, all countries should collectively cancel any debt they owe to China as a down payment on reparations. The nations of the world should no longer owe money to China. China's destroyed so many nations. I mean, we came out better than anybody. Our economy's stronger now than any other nation. Nobody's recovered like us because of what we've done, because we laid a great economic foundation, and because of what we've done with the vaccine, and also what we've done with the distribution of the vaccine. But China should owe money to the nations of the world. They've been destroyed. These nations have been destroyed. Sadly, the current administration is very timid and frankly corrupt when you look at all of the money that they've been given as a family by China, that instead of holding China accountable, the Biden administration shut down the U.S. government's investigation into the origins of the virus shortly after taking office. What's going on? Now, Hunter, who had no experience, walked out with $1.5 billion to manage. You know how much money you make on $1.5 billion to manage? They needed Hunter's advice. They don't use the smartest people on Wall Street. They don't want their advice. I spoke to somebody on Wall Street. I won't mention his name. We'll get him in trouble. But I spoke to somebody, I said, who's one of the biggest. I said, do they do this? He said, I can't get money. And this guy's record is better than anybody. Now that's a disgrace. We must never forget that Joe Biden and his family took millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party. They bought them off. They flagrantly lied about it to the American voters. If you remember, it was a big deal at the time, and then all of a sudden it was canceled. They didn't want to talk about it. The big tech and the fake news media didn't want to talk about it. You could talk up a storm. In fact, I'll guarantee you those cameras are starting to go off right now. It's true. Yeah, those red lights, well, there's one over there. What the hell network are you with? This guy's going to lose his job. The American voters and now Joe Biden are doing what they're doing is just terrible. And to the American voter and to our great country, because we are greater than China. There is nobody like us. Nobody has the people that we have. Nobody has the genius that we have. Nobody has the things or the system that we have when it works, but it's broken right now. It's corrupt, it's broken, whether it's elections, whether it's business, whether it's taxation, whether it's so many different things. Nobody has what our country has. The Biden administration has been one shameful and embarrassing foreign policy disaster after another. And you know the former Secretary of State, he said, Joe's never made a good foreign policy decision. Biden cravenly lifted sanctions on Iran. Oh, Iran. Oh, I would have had a deal in 1 week. 1 week. If I won, I even told them, I said, you know what, let's get the election over with, we'll make a deal. It would have been a great deal. Now they're actually asking for money. Here we go again. Remember, they got $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash. Now they're actually asking for money. They never asked me for money. It's unbelievable. It's so sad to see. So many things. That's one. Look at what's happening with North Korea. Remember when I first came in, we were going to war with North Korea. War is inevitable. Nuclear war we're talking about. And he's pretty well stocked up. And I got along with him. It started off a little rough, but we got along great. I liked him. He liked me. We got along great. And there were no problems. You don't even hear about North Korea. Now you're starting to hear, because he doesn't seem to like Biden very much, and there's nobody to talk to. Kim Jong-un, he's a different kind of a guy. Takes a different kind of a guy to talk to him, too. But I got along with him. Got along with him. Remember when I had the meeting, they said, he's given so much. He's given. I said, I haven't given anything. They said, that's a problem. All right. Then they said, no, you agreed to meet. I said, well, what the hell is that? It's a plane trip and it's back and forth. That's okay. But you know, the sanctions were all left massive. Nobody's ever been sanctioned like them. Or Russia, by the way, Russia. Not only the pipeline, but Russia. Look at the sanctions on Russia. Nobody's ever, yet I got along great with Putin. But I got along great with Kim Jong-un, got along great with everyone. Not all of them like me. Germany's ripping us off on trade. They understood that. So when I want to reduce 52,000 soldiers, take out 25,000 soldiers, which costs us just tens of billions of dollars, everyone goes crazy. But I did the right thing, and they would have done anything. But now they want to put everybody back. It's a shame. Biden's also beholden to America's enemies and so beholden. Nobody's ever seen anything that he actually criticized Israel while the Jewish homeland was under attack by thousands and thousands of rockets and missiles launched by Iran. It was launched by Iran. It was a betrayal of Israel when you look at what happened in Congress. You know, it used to be 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, everybody was with Israel. Today, I guess it's just not in vogue. But you look at some of these radicals that they have in the House of Representatives, you have to deal with them all the time. And Israel is really almost out. It's almost out. It's a very, very terrible thing. And Biden foolishly eliminated the travel ban on terror-afflicted countries. I said, I don't want people in from countries that blow up each other. I don't want them in. I don't want people in that are going to blow up our shopping centers. I don't want people in that are going to blow up our cities. And I won in court. They said I didn't win, and they were right. I lost at the lower court, I lost at the second court, and then I won at the Supreme Court, and we have a travel ban, and now they want to give it up. When the press talks about the travel ban, do you ever notice that he lost in court? And they're right. I lost here, I lost there, and then I won. We got the travel ban. They don't mention the last one. But we have a travel ban, and they are ending the travel ban, as I understand it. So they don't mind people coming in that like to blow things up and kill people. And he's taking action to increase the number of refugee admissions by 700%. This is announced up. But it'll soon be by over 2,000%, and that'll go up and up and up. And I don't know what they're doing. They don't need them for voting. And a lot of people say they want them for voting, but they don't need them because they cheat so much in the voting, you don't have to go through this process, okay? They don't need them. I keep saying they don't need them for voting. They just throw the ballots in there. Just, what do we need people coming in? We don't need that. We'll just throw those ballots in there and many other things. Yep, they're destroying our country, and now Biden is being openly mocked by China's negotiators and Russian President Putin, and they're taunting him, and they're laughing at him, and they're humiliating our country. And do you ever notice when he had a hard time going up the stairs in the plane? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks. The news didn't cover it. Not one network covered it. Now, when I made the best speech I've ever made, they said it was at West Point. And it was pouring, and I had a ramp that was a nice skating rink, and I said to the general, General, I may have to grab you, because the last thing I'm doing is going down. So I walked gingerly down. That was on every newscast in the world, and I never went down either. I never went on my ass, I'll tell you. I wasn't gonna fall. I think that was a booby trap. I'll never forget that ramp. That was like a sheet of ice. It was cold, rainy, and that ramp was long and steep. I said, General, I might have to grab you, but I'm not going down under. And unfortunately, I wasn't wearing American shoes. I had Italian shoes, nice leather. It's like an ice skating rink. But they made that a big story, but they didn't make the Biden fall. The triple fall, I call it the triple fall. Under my administration, America was respected again, totally respected. We withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. We stood with Israel, recognized Jerusalem as its eternal capital, and recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. They've been working on that for 55 years, and I got it done. We decimated the ranks of the world's top terrorists, you know that. We got our allies to pay their fair share. We stood up for our freedoms and for our country, and we stood up to America's adversaries like never before. Nobody's ever done what we've done. I got other countries with NATO to pay. We were paying for NATO. I got them to pay $430 billion. Nobody knows. You don't read about that. The head of NATO is probably my single biggest fan. Secretary General of NATO, they couldn't believe. If you look at NATO, they're spending, so we were getting ripped off on trade, okay? And on top of it, we were protecting them militarily. And how about Germany? They pay Putin, they pay Russia billions of dollars for energy, and then we protect Germany from Russia. How does that work? Think of it. They pay Russia billions and billions for the pipeline that nobody even knew was being built until I started making it a big case, because I said, why are you doing this? You're paying them billions of dollars, and then we're protecting you from them. What the hell kind of a deal are we? What are we doing? It's not believable. I could say so many different things. South Korea. I got them to pay hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They hadn't paid for years and years and years anything substantial. And my deal was they were going to pay billions of dollars, and it would have already taken place. And I refused to renew the deal. The deal expired. He knows better than anybody. I said, we're going a month-to-month basis. Do you believe it? We want a 5-year deal. I said, no, because you're not paying us. Why are we protecting you? You took our television business, you built the ships, you built everything. You make it a fortune, and you're not paying us for military protection. And we're protecting you against a very hostile nation. Why? And they were very angry. They're great negotiators. But finally, they agreed to pay hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was because their budget had already been passed. I said, that's okay. But in January, February, we're going to meet and you're going to pay us $5 billion a year. And they said, no, no, no. But eventually they said, you know, I can tell when they're about ready to fold. So we didn't renew the deal. And we were going to get billions and billions of dollars from South Korea, who we protect. And they're great. They're wonderful. Everything's wonderful. But we were being taken advantage of. Again, kill us on trade and kill us in the military. And what happened? They just renewed it for a cost of living increase. Think of it, a cost of living increase. So we've been protecting them for 85 years, and they'll pay if you ask them. Nobody asks. In fact, I said, why are we paying for your military? Because that is the way it has always been. Well, that's not a great answer, I didn't think. I said, but that won't be the way, but I guess he turned out to be right, because they just got a cost of living, think of that, a cost of living increase of less than 1%. We would have gotten at least $5 billion from them. We fully rebuilt the U.S. military and created the first new branch of the United States Armed Forces in 75 years, called the Space Force, so desperately needed. A lot of people, a lot of things happening right here on the Space Force, too. We ended the forever wars in Iraq and Syria and Somalia and Afghanistan. We brought them back home, and this is just the finishing little. We brought them back home. We're down to very few soldiers in any of those places, and very proud of it. These were the endless wars, so bad, so bad. I'd visit soldiers at Walter Reed Hospital, where the doctors are truly fantastic, what they can do, but I'd see these young people that were just blown to pieces, and it's so sad. I'd be at Dover, where these magnificent machines would come in, the big cargo planes, and that door would open up and there'd be a coffin in the back. And the military, the soldiers would take that coffin and walk it off the plane. And I'd be with the parents an hour before, and we'd be talking, and I'd say to the general in charge, General, the parents seem to be okay. And he'd say, no, they're not, sir. They're not okay. I said, General, I'm having a great conversation. And the mothers oftentimes would say, oh, my son was such a great football player. Sir, he had an arm that was so powerful. He was so strong, and he could throw a ball so far. He was such a good player, or other things. They'd tell me these stories about, they just were so in love with telling the stories about their son or their daughter. In some cases, their daughter. And then I'd look at the general and say, well, it's amazing the way they can handle it. And then the plane would come in, and the general would say, sir, it's not going to be good. And that door would open up, that big back door, right, would open up from this incredible, powerful machine that can lift up army tanks like it's nothing. And it would open up, and there'd be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 coffins. And I'd see the same people that were talking to me so jubilant about their child, how great the child was, would start screaming, screams like I've never heard before. It was the most terrible thing to watch. And the general in charge would say, sir, you're going to see things that you maybe will not have seen. Like what, General? I said, mothers and wives and even fathers sometimes breaking through the military ranks and jumping on top of the coffin. And I got to see that one time, where a mother was just, she was devastated. She jumped on, and these incredible, extremely fit soldiers are taking that coffin and would jump onto the coffin, and they would just keep walking. They wouldn't do a thing. They would just keep walking. And the mother was on the coffin, and this is for Afghanistan and for Iraq and for these other places where so many mistakes were made, where we shouldn't be. And we can't do that. And we're moving them out. We're moving them back. 21 years, you've heard 19 years, but it's not 19. Now it's 21 years in Afghanistan. It's enough. And we haven't lost a soldier in Afghanistan since January of last year. We haven't lost a soldier. Not one single soldier has been lost. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So it's hard to believe the records the Biden administration is doing, and I'm very glad that he's continuing to move them out. I think it would be very hard to stop, to be honest. I think, frankly, stopping would be very, very hard. But so I'm very honored by the fact that they're continuing to bring those soldiers home where they belong. And we have other things to possibly get ready for because, you know, the bigger ball game, we have to be respected as a military power, because if we're not respected, these other countries that are very big, very powerful countries, they will take advantage of us, and you know what I mean by that. So we cannot be doing what we've been doing for the last very long period of time. When we got into Iraq, I said as a private individual many years ago, don't go, but if you're going to go, keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil, and they make a lot of money with that oil. I know how much money they make. They make a lot of money. And we are looked upon as not very smart people and not a very smart country. So we're doing things that nobody thought were possible. The radical Democrat Party has become consumed by the unquenchable thirst of power. You know that. I don't know, you know, it's a term that I've heard for a long time. They want power, power, power. I don't know. I think it's power, it's money. I think it's a lot of things. I don't think it's just power. It's too ridiculous. They want to take away freedom of speech. They want to take away religious liberty. And Biden has already introduced legislation in Congress to take away your guns. You know, your guns are under siege. You do know that. And I told you all these things. Again, nobody ever thought what is happening would happen. In Texas, I said, we're going to win. We won Texas by a lot. We won Texas by, but they were against oil, guns, and God. And then you'd listen to the fake news. It's going to be a very close race in Texas. It wasn't very close at all. Republicans must never waver in protecting the Second Amendment and keep and bear arms. We have to have that power to keep and bear arms. If we don't, we will have a problem like nobody's ever seen before. But they want to take away your guns, and I said it before the election, and I say it after the election. The Biden administration has also issued regulations to indoctrinate America's school children with poisonous and divisive left-wing doctrines, such as critical race theory, and exact opposite of the American belief that we all are created equal in the holy image of God. We have a group of people, I don't know where they come from, but it's terrible. Just as the state House of Representatives has done right here in North Carolina, Republicans at every level should move immediately to ban critical race theory in our schools. And we should ban it in workplaces, we should ban it in our states, and we should ban it in the federal government, and it should be done immediately. Should be done very quickly. Washington Democrats are also pushing legislation to spend billions and billions of dollars on phony civic education, giving students academic credit to show up at protests. Can you believe that? And make themselves into left-wing activists. And how badly do they treat people that tend to be on the right compared to people that are on the radical left? Look at what happened in Portland. Nothing's happening with these people, and they do kill people, and they burn down buildings, and they go after federal buildings, and nothing happens, and people are damn angry about it. If government-run schools are going to indoctrinate children with radical ideas, Republicans must immediately pass legislation to empower every parent in America to opt out of the insanity and send their child to the public, private, charter, or religious school of their choice.